Recent developments in the Caribbean have drawn attention to ongoing counter-narcotics operations conducted by U.S. authorities. According to official statements from the U.S. Southern Command, a military strike on suspected drug trafficking vessels resulted in 3 fatalities and led to several individuals abandoning their boats in open water. The incident raises questions about enforcement, tactics, and the broader effort to disrupt maritime drug smuggling routes. The Caribbean Sea has long served as a major corridor for narcotics moving from South America towards Central America and ultimately the United States. Public records show that U.S. military and Coast Guard units regularly patrol these waters as part of counter-drug operations authorized under various federal laws and international agreements. These operations typically involve surveillance, interdiction, and coordination with partner nations in the region. According to Department of Defense reports, SUC missions aim to disrupt the flow of illegal drugs before they reach U.S. shores, where they contribute to domestic public health and safety challenges. The use of military assets in drug interdiction has been part of U.S. policy for decades, though the specific rules of engagement and operational procedures have evolved over time, based on legal guidelines and strategic priorities. According to a statement released by U.S. Southern Command, military personnel conducted what officials described as in-warning strikes against a convoy of suspected drug trafficking vessels operating in international waters. The statement indicated that the boats were believed to be carrying illegal narcotics and that standard communication procedures were followed before the strike was authorized. Officials report that the strike resulted in 3 deaths. Following the military action, multiple individuals aboard the targeted vessels reportedly jumped into the water. U.S. personnel conducted recovery operations, and survivors were taken into custody for processing. The Southern Command statement emphasized that the operation followed established protocols and that the decision to use force came after other methods of interdiction were deemed insufficient or impractical given the circumstances. Defense officials noted that such strikes are relatively uncommon in counter-drug operations, which more typically involve boarding and seizure procedures. Initial reports indicate that a significant quantity of suspected narcotics was recovered from the vessels, though exact figures have not been released, pending the completion of the investigation and legal proceedings. U.S. military officials have defended the operation as consistent with legal authorities governing counter-narcotics missions. Statements from the Department of Defense indicate that personnel followed the law of armed conflict principles and that the use of force was considered proportionate to the threat posed by the drug trafficking activity. Southern Command representatives noted that drug trafficking organizations increasingly use go-fast boats and other high-speed vessels to evade detection and interdiction, sometimes employing tactics that endanger both law enforcement personnel and the smugglers themselves. Human rights organizations and legal analysts have begun reviewing the incident to assess whether proper procedures were followed. Some observers have raised questions about the rules of engagement in counter-drug operations and whether lethal force should be used against suspected traffickers who pose no immediate, violent threat to personnel. This incident highlights the ongoing challenges authorities face in disrupting drug trafficking networks that operate across international borders. The United States has invested billions of dollars in counter-narcotics efforts, both domestically and internationally, as part of a comprehensive strategy to reduce drug availability and related crime. Analysts note that maritime interdiction represents just one component of a broader approach that includes domestic law enforcement, international cooperation, demand reduction programs, and efforts to address the root causes of drug production and trafficking. The human cost of the drug trade affects communities throughout the Americas. According to public health data, drug overdoses remain a leading cause of preventable death in the United States. While violence associated with trafficking organizations has destabilized regions in Latin America and the Caribbean, questions about the appropriate use of force in counter-drug operations reflect broader debates about balancing enforcement effectiveness with legal and ethical considerations. These discussions continue among policymakers, military leaders, legal experts, and advocacy organizations. As this incident undergoes further review, it serves as a reminder of the complex and sometimes dangerous nature of international drug interdiction efforts. U.S. authorities continue to conduct operations in the Caribbean and other regions as part of long-standing counter-narcotics strategy, while debates about methods and effectiveness persist among various stakeholders.